We're all human. We are all human beings. We all come from the dust of the earth, and we're all searching for something. I'm retired at this time. My occupation was alcohol and drug abuse counselor, and I also work with mental health. I'm married. My wife is Helen, and my son is Akeem, and we live in Pelham, Georgia. That's my parents' family home. My dad was in the Air Force. We lived in a number of states in the United States, and we lived in a couple of foreign countries. So you could say by the time I was 19 years old, I had been around the world one time. We were living in Savannah, Georgia. That was one of the states we lived in, and attending the Church of Christ there. My mom became a member of the church prior to me becoming a member, and I watched as she let Christ live in her. My dad was an alcoholic, so it was a very dysfunctional family, and my mom was able through Christ to turn the cheek each time my dad acted out or just dysfunctional, and she was able to do that. And I found that to be amazing and incredible. And through the dysfunction that went on in my family, I wanted to have more than what was happening in my life. I didn't know if there was more in the world or not, but I just didn't want to live that way. And watching my mom, I decided that I wanted to be a Christian, that I wanted to learn how to deal with the dysfunction in my family. And I wanted to have a real father, not just the father who I had or was living with at the time. The toughest trials I faced in my life was, number one, growing up in an alcoholic family. I hated my dad. I hated the addiction that he had. I hated what it was doing to our family. At one point in my life, I developed an addiction. It made me feel horrible inside to wind up developing the same thing that I hated so much with a passion. And at that time, I was a member of the church. I was an alcohol and drug abuse counselor of all things. And I had been in Al-Anon for 15 years. And Al-Anon is a family group for people who grew up in alcoholic families to learn how to deal with that. And so with all that information that I knew and that I had been engaged in, I was able to deal with my addiction, but it really ate me up inside to know that I had become that which I hated most. It really was terrible, but it was also the same impetus, the same drive that gave me to deal with it sooner than later in my life. And I was appreciative of that, but it took me a long time to find out that I wasn't the man I thought I should be, because I thought I should have been a grown-up by then. I thought I should have been a man. And then to find out that I had this thing going on inside of me, and that it finally showed its head, really made me feel bad about who I was and what I was. I was a counselor. I wanted to find out about dysfunction, the disease in my family. I also was a Christian. I was going to church. I was worshiping, and looking at what was not working, and that I knew addiction was a sin. I knew that I needed to change it, and I wanted to change it. So in Christ, my heart I was convicted. I was stressed by it, and I was stressed to the point where I wanted to change. And that came through my faith. That came through my being a child of God. And that's the biggest part of the reason that sooner than later I was able to deal with it, get treatment, get help, open up. But God was the reason I was able to deal with that difficulty or that fault in my life at that time. The advice that I can give about going through trials, or the trials that I have, is number one, you're not alone. Don't believe that you're the only person in the world that what you're going through has ever happened to, because that is not true. In fact, it is a lie. And is it exactly what Satan, the devil, or the addiction or the problem you're going through wants you to believe? It wants you to believe that you cannot solve that problem, that you cannot come out of it, that you're worse than anything that the earth has seen. Okay? And that is just not true. Number two, find people who love you, who care for you, and who support you. Not the people you want to love you, not the people you want to care for you, not the people who you want to support you. Because quite often those people are not the people who will give you what you need. Find people who will love you, support you, and care for you. Hopefully Christians, hopefully people who have been there before. Risk reaching out to people that you think you just can't talk to about it, but you can. Their faith, people who have faith, people who care about you, reach out for them, let them help you. Number three, be open. Don't close down. Don't shut yourself off. Don't allow yourself to do that. Be open to certain people who can help you. I didn't know the Lord. I found him. I was searching. I needed something. I didn't know what I needed, but I was searching. And I hope my story, by hearing where I come from and my experience and the things I went through, will benefit you. There are a lot of dysfunctional families. Families are places where we're supposed to get our needs met, where we're supposed to be validated and loved. And sometimes we come from families where that's not happening. Our parents didn't get it. Their parents didn't get it. So they passed down from generation to generation what they know. And I thought my parents were supposed to give that to me, that they were supposed to know that. But they couldn't give what they didn't know. And they did the best they can. I found my family in Christ. I found my family in Jesus. And I found the answers that I wanted out of my life. I hope my story will help you find what you're looking for too. My name is Bernard Tellis. I am a member of the Moultrie Church of Christ, and we are overcome.